So here we are at the Ukiah, California Conservation Corps campus with our second in a series of videos done by Richard Spillane that are going to help us be more safe and feel more informed before we use a chainsaw. Richard?
Alright guys, so I'm going to start with your starting procedure for a chainsaw. Even before you actually fire up the engine, there's a couple of things you do want to check. A lot of problems that occur with these saws can be prevented just by knowing what is wrong with the saw before you even pick it up and start it up. Okay, so what we're going to check, what I always like to check is the bar nuts. It's the first thing. You want to make sure they're on nice and tight. Okay, I give my bar a little tap, make sure it's not vibrating out of control. That kind of lets me know. Another thing is the tightness of my chain, right? So I'm going to pull it up, and you judge that by how many drive links are actually showing. Drive links are these tiny, almost shark fin looking things underneath the chain, right? And those are the actual part of the chain that is driven by your drive sprocket through your bar. Okay, so I'm checking that. It looks good to me. I got about 5 drive links showing, which is a little bit on the tight side, but
what happens if your chain is loose?
Oh, yeah, when your chain is too loose, what can happen is you'll do what's called throwing your chain, and the chain will actually be forced off the bar, kick off. It does have a potential hazard to you, something you want to avoid. Also, it can damage your bar. You can cause a saddle and some uneven wear and tear along your bar length, which is not a good thing. If it's too tight, you're going to put a lot of stress on your clutch drum and a lot of stress on your bar and your sprocket on the tip of your bar, so you don't want it too tight either. So I'm checking this. That looks fine to me. I'm going to check my muffler, make sure it's not missing any screws, give it a little tap. It's nice and secure on there. Alright, so I'm ready to fire up. So I remember all my PPE. Alright, I got my earplugs, my boots, my chaps, hard hat, gloves, and safety glasses. There you go. Alright, so this is what's called a cold start. This is when you haven't ran the chainsaw for quite a while and there isn't any fuel primed in the lines and the combustion chamber isn't hot. So this is called cold start for that reason. We're going to have to start all the way down on choke. Okay, choke is all the way down. That's where we're going to be able to hear our pop. Okay, we call it a pop. You'll hear the engine doing its normal compression, bum bum, and then it'll make a weird noise, kind of like a pop, a blah. That's what you're listening for. Okay. Okay, so you heard right there, it kind of made a popping noise. So that was a pop. So now I'm going to make my adjustment. Just pull it up to semi-choke. Semi-choke right here, it's going to slightly open up my butterfly valve of the carburetor. It's going to apply a slight throttle to the chainsaw. Okay, you got to be careful with this, because if your brake is off, your chain will actually start running and moving, and you have potential for hurting yourself and others. So I always start with my brake on. Some people argue that it's better to start with your brake off because you can wear down your brake, but honestly the amount of wear and tear that you're exposing your brake with this method is so small. I think safety is the more important part. So I'm going to make sure that my brake is on, right? And when I actually fire it up in semi-choke, I'm going to try to reach back and hit my throttle once as fast as I can, because once I hit my throttle, it's going to kick itself up to idle, just like that. And then the chain will stop spinning on its own, and it'll put no longer any stress on my brake. So here I go. Also notice that I'm not drop starting it. I'm not going like this. Okay, I'm leaving the chain a whole bunch of free range of motion. It can do a lot of damage to me or people around me or objects. So I'm locking it in between my legs, keep it nice and flexed, and then I do a slight drop, but I still keep this handle in between my legs. I still have control over the saw. Okay, so now the saw is started. Lock itself into idle. Brake on. Alright, so really quick, you notice that when I start up the saw, it started to bog itself out. Okay? When you're doing cold starting, you're going to want to feather the trigger very lightly. And what you're going to do is get all the fuel in the line, and you get all those air bubbles out, and so you have a constant flow of fuel, and then it'll kick up. Usually when you see a white smoke spray come out, then you're all good. And that's basic starting.
Very nice.
Thank you.
All right, so stay tuned for the next series, and there'll be several of them to help us feel safer and more informed while using the saw. Thanks, Richard.